Okay, this right here is Samsung F41. Basically rebranded M31. It costs around 15,000 INR, comes with AMOLED display, 6000 mAh battery, and not a Chinese phone for those who care about that stuff. And here's the thing, I've been using this phone for a few weeks as my daily driver, and I don't recommend this one over other budget phones. So if you are considering buying Samsung F41 or even M31, Realme 7 or Redmi Note 9 Pro, here's what you need to know. Now, there are three particular things to why I think Samsung F41 is not a good enough phone. Before we get to that, we upload tech videos twice a week, and if you want to stay wiser, make sure you subscribe to TechWiser and hit the bell icon as well. Now, there are three reasons why I feel this is not a good phone. First, the whole phone experience. Second, the infamous Exynos 9611 processor. Third, 64 megapixel camera and all the camera gimmicks. Okay, so before we get to those 3 points, here are the raw specs of Samsung F41. It comes with a 6.4-inch AMOLED display powered by Exynos 9611. It has a 6000 mAh battery. Our unit has a 6GB RAM with 64GB internal storage. Now, the first thing you see after you set up the phone for the first time is the home screen. There's a separate Discover tab just beside the app drawer. I mean, come on. I know app recommendations are a thing in budget phones, but come on, you don't have to be so upfront about it. Like, here's Realme, Redmi and Samsung. Out of all these phones, where can you see the recommended app straight away? If the Discover tab isn't enough, then there comes Samsung native apps like Gallery, Messages, Phone, Samsung Cloud, everything else. It's fine. I mean, all companies have their own set of apps, but these apps are from the Samsung store. So if you have to update those apps, you have to do that from the Samsung store. And why? I mean, it's high time either uninstall your app or uninstall Google's app. Even if you let pass the usual bloatware, dual app store, push notification from Samsung that cannot be swiped off. It's a persistent notification. Anyways, back to One UI again, which is also inconsistent. I mean, if you buy a flagship Samsung phone, the One UI offers a different experience from what you get here on the Samsung F41. For example, you get inbuilt features like inbuilt screen recorder, Microsoft Your Companion, etc. It's not present on this one. I'm a hardcore user of Microsoft Your Companion, and Samsung has direct tie-ups with Microsoft. So Samsung can put up Microsoft Word, LinkedIn, everything pre-installed in this phone, but not Microsoft Your Phone, which is quite useful. Plus, why there's no screen record in budget phones? Like, can't budget phone record screens? Overall, talking about the experience, this Samsung phone comes with unnecessary app recommendation, unnecessary dual app stores, annoying persistent notifications from the Samsung store, and yet lacks default apps that are present on flagship One UI phones. And if that's not enough, one of the best things about Samsung devices, which I feel, was the vibration motor and haptic feedback. Samsung has the best haptic feedback I've ever used in any Android phone or even flagship Android phone, but this one right here, it's plain bad. I hold the phone this way to type and I can literally feel the vibration motor buzzing below the fingerprint reader. It annoys me every time I type, and I've just turned it off now. My next major issue with Samsung F41 is the Exynos 9611. Oh man. The chipset is the same chipset Samsung uses in all their budget phones, like you would know, from Samsung M21, M31, M31s to M51. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. It's your homegrown chipset. You can use it on any number of phones you want, but 9611 is old and it shows. Like, as you guys would know, I write on TechWiser.com, and for research I have too many apps installed on my phone. Now this phone lags in even day-to-day usage. Like I can show you right now, hold on. I just video call Kaushik and I swipe up. Hey, what's up? Just a moment. Usually I do this, I'm on a video call, we discuss something and I swipe up and search things on Brave browser. Like as you can see the UI stutters and gets unresponsive at times. This is something I do with every phone and even Micromax in Note 1. It could easily handle this scenario. Coming down to gaming, I play COD about half an hour every day and you can see the gameplay performance. It's okayish, you have frame drops here and there. It gets quite warm here behind the camera after 15 to 20 minutes of usage and then the CPU starts throttling. Now I wanted to know the reason for this poor day-to-day performance of the Samsung F41. So I did a read-write test on Samsung F41, Realme 7 and Redmi Note 9 Pro for comparison. The scores were pretty much the same because all these phones have UFS 2.1 storage. In fact, Samsung was a bit better at times. So One UI or either storage isn't the problem. Then I did a Geekbench 5 benchmark on Realme 7, Redmi Note 9 Pro and just for fun, Micromax in Note 1. And as you can see, Samsung F41 has the worst scores. Exynos 9611 has a higher clock speed of 2.3 GHz, but the base clock speed, which is used in day-to-day tasks, is 1.7 GHz. That's quite low in comparison. Even Micromax in Note 1 has a slightly better Geekbench score and the day-to-day performance as well. The Exynos 9611 is the reason for the day-to-day lagginess and the poor performance of this phone. Well, if you move the phone has a triple camera setup. Finally, the third downside of getting F41 is the whole 64 megapixel camera gimmick. The F41 comes with a 64 megapixel main sensor, 8 megapixel wide angle and 5 megapixel depth sensor. Thank you for not adding that 2 megapixel macro sensor. On the front, you have a 32 megapixel selfie camera. So the photos from the phone turn out great. Samsung probably has the best camera processing and optimizations in the budget range. You can see when I click this photo, you might see it's overblown here on the viewfinder. But once the photo is processed, magic. You see the overexposed area. This is something that Google Pixels used to do and it feels so happy to see Samsung doing that even on budget phones. But 64 megapixel camera, well, I see you there. Normally, this 64 megapixel camera clicks 16 megapixel photos because it uses pixel binning. Basically, 64 megapixel combines 4 into 1, so 64 by 4 is 16. You get it. You have to switch to the 64 megapixel mode to click photos and have a look at both the photos side by side. The 64 megapixel photos are worse because Samsung camera doesn't optimize the 64 megapixel photo. Nice. Now, it's not everything bad with this phone. There are a couple of things which I liked about the Samsung phone. First of all, display. This is a good display. It's a Super AMOLED 60Hz display. At this price range, you don't get AMOLED display in any of these phones. The Realme 7 and Redmi Note 9 Pro both have LCD displays, and AMOLED is better than LCD, period. It doesn't get as bright as the Realme 7 and Redmi Note 9 Pro. It's 420 nits compared to 450 nits on Redmi and 480 nits on Realme. But AMOLED has a better contrast ratio, so the F41 will always look better than any LCD in this price range. The display supports HDR, so you can watch HDR videos on YouTube, and it also has widevine L1, so you can watch full HD videos on Netflix and even Prime. The second thing I liked about this phone is the battery. Powering this entire thing is a 6000 mAh huge battery, and you just can't finish the battery in a day. This week's usage was average, and as you can see, my screen on time is around 5 to 6 hours. I always ended up on bed with 40 to 50% charging. Even after a year or so, you wouldn't be able to finish this battery in a single day. It also comes with 15 watt fast charging, and it can charge the phone from 0 to 100 in roughly about 2.5 to 3 hours. All in all, this Samsung phone has a good display, good camera processing, battery, but the processor is slow, old, and the UI is kind of nowhere. The overall feel of using this phone, like the in-hand feel, Gorilla Glass 3 on the front, to haptic feedback, it feels cheap. And when I say cheap, I know this is 15,499. It's not less money. You are still paying 15,500 rupees for this. So I don't find any special reason to recommend this phone. Skip this one. And trust me, I love Samsung. They are one of the most innovative companies Android could have. I am a long-term Samsung Note 9 user, and it just hurts to see this. With everyone out there trying to copying the AirPods design, Samsung came up with the Galaxy Buds Live, which was very innovative in my opinion. But it hurts to see Samsung product like this. With that said, this is Pradeep signing off. Like the video if you haven't. Let me know about your opinions on Samsung 9611 or Samsung budget phones, and I'll see you in the next video.